What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to Majespecters. Now, I actually put this deck back together and I was really excited to give it a test out at locals, and unfortunately it didn't go the way I would like to have gone. Now, there was a couple of games where it did do incredibly well and it won the matchups. Then there was a couple of games where it either bricked or it just couldn't compete with the level of the matchup that it was going up against. Now, the matchups I ended up facing were Voice's Voice, Tempai, Snake Eyes, so pretty much the main decks, and also Yugioh. There were a couple of times where I was like, okay, this is really kind of cool, it's going to put some work in, but then also it didn't do so well. Like the Voice's Voice matchup, once they got the targeted protection, most of my back row cards kind of just faltered away, and I thought this deck could be pretty good to kind of dodge around hand traps. Unfortunately, it didn't do as much as I would have liked to in that kind of scenario. So what I want to do is I wanted to show you this updated list, talk you through some of the tech cards that I've put in here, talk you through some changes that I might make, but I do feel that this may not be the right format for these, but it's definitely something to keep your eye out on for the future. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Diving headfirst into the first main monster of the deck, and of course that is going to be triple Majespecter Raccoon Bombuku, followed up by triple Yata. Now these are obviously your main starters. Bombuku will obviously get you into your Yamarashi, which is exactly what you're trying to do, or of course Yata can do so by going through Winds, and it will just give you that little bit more because Winds is actually going to be incredibly important in order to get your Unicorn onto the board and into rotation. So Kirin. One issue that I did find with this build was once Kirin hits the extra deck, it's very difficult to get it out, if not near impossible to get it out of the extra deck, unless you go into something like Exceed the Pendulum, and even then, that's something you need to save for later on in the turn, which is why I am considering. So someone actually mentioned to me Domino Butterfly for the Speedroids, so I've picked up one of those as it's a searchable scale level 8 for the deck when you go through the Speedroid engine, which as a preview, we are playing. But ideally, you're going to want to go down through your Terratop to get you into your Tuck and Toll Borg, and this will give you spell or trap protection, or it can also give you a monster negation or protection in a sense, so you don't need to worry about Nibiru, and then it allows you to either choose to protect your Nui from Imperm, which is the only hand trap that really stops the Nui kind of process when you get to it. So freeze of all of these, pretty standard on that one. And then we've got the one Kibi, which is your trap searcher. You've got the one Ogama, which is your spell or trap setter. And then of course you've got the one Kirin, which is the bounce 1 and 1. Now obviously the issue that I kind of had is in this particular version, you want to make sure you're bouncing the Kirin back because then you can get it back down from the hand with Winds. You will never be able to pendulum summon this, unfortunately, because your scales are only ever going to be 5 to 2 or at max a 6 to 2. So you can't cover this unless you're playing the Super Heavy Samurai engine. And I decided to take that out for the Speedroid engine and then for other hand traps, just so you can kind of have a bit more of a balance with this current format. That being said, when I get the Domino Butterfly, I'm going to try that one out as well and see if that actually helps you kind of get into access to Kirin a bit more, because then you can get a scale 2 and a scale 8 and you're in a good position. Then for the other Majespecters, we are playing triple Majesty, Pegasus, the Draco Slayer, always treated as a Majespecter monster. This is actually really important, which is why we also play the one Dynamite Knight. And the reason that we play this one, or the Dynamite Power Load, the reason we play this is this plus any Majespecter can get you into Bombuku, which is your obviously ideal combo starter, without needing to use your normal summon, because you would put your Majesty in one scale, you'd put a Majespecter in the other one, you'd use Majesty's effect to pop said scale to search out the Dynamite, you put the Dynamite down, use his effect to special summon out the Majesty, Majesty then discards a card and searches you out the Majesty Pegasus, which can then pop this in order to get you into your Bombuku. On another way that this deck can really be utilised off of the back of the field spells is you can utilise, whether you're main decking or siding, Necro Valley and Secret Village. Both of these will have great utility in certain matchups. Like Necro Valley really does cause issues for the Snake Eyes matchup, because then it means they can't Princess, they can't Flameburge, they can't Oak, and it does cause them a lot to kind of worry about. So it's definitely something you might want to focus on when you're utilising the Pegasus. Then, of course, we've got the one Luster. I never used it. More times than not, I was always getting for the Dynamite rather than the Luster, and it's just kind of the way that I choose to play it. Then, of course, for the Speedroid engine, triple Terratop and the one Tuck and Toll Borg. The thing with Tuck and Toll is it's not actually dead if you hard open it, because you just need to control a wind monster. And as long as you don't use this effect to tribute it and get you a tuner, which we don't because we don't play any Speedroid tuners, you don't actually lock yourself into wind effects. So you're in a good position. And like I said, Terratop, if you need that 8 scale, you'd probably go Terratop and search out the Domino Butterfly. But if you don't need it, more times than not, you'll go for your Tuck and Toll Borg for the protection. For the hand traps, we were main decking triple Ash Blossom and triple Imperm, alongside the anti-hand traps in the form of, well, anti-hand traps, more like deterred hand traps in the form of 2 talents. And rather than playing the 1 Call by the Grave, I decided to play the 1 Cross Out, just because I was like, okay, well, when we go into the side deck, I've got stuff like Nibiru's, Drolls, and Evenlies that can really hurt this deck, so I want to utilize that. As well as a main deck Cross Out can hit with Imperm and Ash, which is the 2 strongest hand traps against this deck. And then, of course, you can also hit the Triple Tactic talents. I never saw it never came up. The reason I only played 1 and not 3 is because of the space of the deck. It's 42 cards at this moment in time, but there are a couple of bits that I'll play around with and what I can cut. For the Majespecter spells, of course, we've got triple Winds followed up by the 1 Cyclone. You can probably cut the Cyclone. Sometimes I was siding it out, but it is still quite nice to target a monster. Tribute one of your Winds, target a monster, and then pop it. And you didn't want to just Majespecter Winds being your only spell card. Because if you hard open this and then you go with a Gamma, yes, of course, you can search set Tornado and then go through Kibi and set the Tornado, the Counter Trap Tempest. But ideally, I wanted another option, and sometimes Cyclone could be quite useful for you. So speaking of the track cards, you've got the 1 Tempest and the 1 Tornado. So target and banish, and then basically a Summon Strike. For the field spells, we've got 3 of those. So the 1 Majesty Pegasus, the 1 Secret Village, and the 1 Necro Valley. Ideally, I want to get this back into the side deck. There was just too many cards that I couldn't decide what I'd want to put in my main deck, just because I wanted to test this out to see how it worked. And there's a couple of cards that I'll change in the side deck, and I'll show you that at the end of the video. And the last 3 cards are just consistency cards in the form of Pot of Prosperity. Like, you're trying to dig for your stuff like your Terratops now. You're trying to dig for your starters in the form of Yata, Winds, and Bambuku. You can also dig for your extender in the form of Yamarashi, that if your Bambuku or your Yata does get Ash Blossomed, your Prosperity can pretty much just replace what it was going to search for anyway. So that's it for the entire main deck. I'll now show you the side deck, and then I'll show you the extra deck. So for the side deck, as a demo side deck, I went with Triple and Lockbird. It is a wind spellcaster, so it can actually be tributed off with your own effects or your Majespecter spells and traps, but it's very rare. Like, if you're normal summoning this and then passing your turn, your opponent's probably going to know that you've either opened up multiples of these, or of course you've got one of the spells and traps ready to go. 2 Nibiru, again, a cross-out target, but also like just generally, if in an environment where people now go, okay, this environment, no one's running into Nib or take Nib out, it means a lot of decks that just lose to Nib can come back and start playing very, very well. And when they go through their board, like, they can play through multiple hand traps, and if they don't get nibbed, their board's nearly unbreakable. So I kind of wanted to still keep this in. For back row hate, I went with 1 Duster and 2 Cosmics. And then I decided to kind of main deck triple Gravekeeper's Inscription, because I was like, okay, well, I expect to face the Yugioh matchup. This could be really good, or this is really good against the Snake Eyes matchup. And I don't really move a lot of cards from the graveyard, but ultimately I saw it once or twice and never really felt that I needed to use it. Another one I wanted to try out was Book of Eclipse back in the format. I really do like Book of Eclipse in general. And again, I only saw it once or twice and used it once, so it didn't really have as much of an impact as I would have liked it to have, but it's definitely something I could see putting up to 3, and then I'd probably put Nibiru up to 3, and then put Cosmic Cyclone up to 3, or just take out all 3 inscriptions, 3 Eclipses, 3 Nibirus, and then the 1 space for the Secret Village. And the last 2 was Evenlies. Again, this could have been 3 if you wanted to, but the idea was I was putting this more in as a cross-out target than actually to utilise it against my opponent. So that's it for the entire side deck. Now onto the extra deck. So for the Link monsters, we had the 1 Nui, the 1 IP, the 1 SP, followed up by Beyond the Pendulum, Ixid the Pendulum, Appaloosa, Access Code. And I decided to go with Underworld Goddess because I was like, well, I can pendulum my board out, and if I was expecting to face a Yugioh matchup, I would need to probably be in a better situation to actually link off their monster than anything else. I feel one thing that I did miss in this deck that I would like to put back in is Super Poly. I got Super Poly twice, and it really hurt. Like, they did Appaloosa and Bambuku for Mud Dragon, and then they used Mud Dragon to call Fire, which meant I couldn't target any of their Tenpai monsters, which really, really hurt. And then I also got Super Polyed for Garura in the Voices Voice matchup, which also hurt because it pretty much took out my best 2 cards on the board. Again, it wasn't Appaloosa, but it was like 2 of my Majespecters, so it was like Rui and something else. For your targets, for your Terratop, you've got the Boozling Gossip Shadow for Nibiru, and you've got Totem Bird for Imperm, but can also be very good against Evening Match as well. So these were the 2 targets on that one, and then you obviously got your Rui. And then, of course, I went with the 1 Typhoon, and then cards that I never summoned at all was the Draco Slayers, so Ignista, Magister, and Dynastar. I never summoned any of these because I never went through the Majesty line. Never needed this, it was just a little bit too slow. So very easily, I could see myself taking these 3 out. Taking out the the Luster in the main deck, making it down to a 41 card deck, move the Secret Village into the side deck, makes it a 40 card deck, and then taking these out for Garura, Mud Dragon, and maybe Dracus Depelia. Or if I expect to face loads of U-Bells, I'd put in the U-Bell monster. And then it's trying to find the space in the main deck for the Super Poly. So that's pretty much it for the entire list. This just kind of really showed me that the deck, I was excited to pick it back up, but it just showed me that the deck wasn't really ready to take to something like Nationals. I just don't feel that it is as strong. I feel that when you can face, like, you'll have a very bad matchup in the Voiceless Voice matchup when they can't be targeted, so that will then shut off about 50% or at least 100% of your interruptions, or technically 90%, because then your other interruptions will then become your hand traps. And in the Tenpai matchup, if they're able to break your board and then OTK and they can play through your back row and everything else, or they just lightning storm you, again, you're going to have a bad time. So, learned some lessons today. Did enjoy it still. It was nice to kind of dust the deck off and give it another run through, but I do feel that this format isn't ready for, or Majespecters aren't really ready for this format, and it's something that I need to change up. So, this was one of my 4. If you saw the live stream the other day, this was one of my 4 options to take into Nationals, and unfortunately I am going to be saying that this will not be coming with me to Nationals. Maybe for the side events, like this might be something that will catch a lot of people off in the side events, but I now have other options to kind of trial out, test around with, and then kind of fine tune and define within the next upcoming days. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.